So that's really exciting for me. I'm obviously super excited to be back in New York for the US Open. I think that will be super fun.
You are not going to believe how packed the next few weeks are on tour, because this stretch might end up being the most compelling run of the season. There is a buzz building right now that is hard to ignore. Two brand new stops just landed on the schedule, Toronto and Cincinnati, and for one of the players heading into them, these are cities she has literally never played in before. At this stage of her career, with everything she has already accomplished, she is still walking into courts she has never stepped on, crowds she has never heard. That kind of first-time novelty almost never happens once a player reaches this level, and she sounds genuinely excited about it. Calling it a fresh chapter she is stepping into with an open mind rather than any kind of dread. But let us be honest, the moment everybody is really circling on the calendar is New York. The US Open is coming, and there is a different kind of electricity around this one every year. She has talked openly about how much she is looking forward to being back in the city, and you can hear it in her voice, that mix of nerves and excitement that only the biggest stage in tennis brings out. This year, it is not just the singles bracket either. She has mixed doubles lined up at Flushing Meadows too, adding a whole new layer of storylines for fans to follow. And before the tournament even begins, there is a practice match plan to sharpen her timing and find her rhythm heading into the main draw. That kind of preparation tells you everything about how seriously this run toward New York is being treated, blending the instincts needed for big matches with the quiet, unglamorous routines that actually get an athlete tournament ready. Now let us pivot to a story with a very different tone, because there is a lot going on underneath the surface here. There was a rough result at the National Bank Open, a loss that ended things much earlier than most people expected, and it has left plenty of fans asking questions about what actually happened out there. The good news, if there is one, is that she is not stepping away from the tour because of it. She is expected back for Cincinnati, and the way she plans to return is honestly pretty interesting. Instead of diving straight back into the pressure of a full singles bracket, she is choosing to ease back in through mixed doubles first. That is a smart call, and it says a lot about the thinking behind it. This is not about rushing back into the grind head first. It is about finding a lower pressure setting, getting the legs moving again, rebuilding timing, and slowly restoring confidence before the real target comes back into view. Because make no mistake, singles is still the priority here. Once Cincinnati wraps up, the full focus shifts right back to singles, and from there it is a short turnaround into the US Open, barely a week away. So this stretch is not an extended break. It is closer to a carefully managed reset, a chance to step back, breathe, and return sharper instead of pushing through fatigue and hoping for the best. People talk endlessly about the physical grind of tennis, but the mental side is just as demanding, and a short pause used wisely can be the difference between surviving a season and actually finishing it strong. There is also a quieter concern sitting underneath all of this worth being upfront about. Nobody wants to watch an Eala exit turn into something more serious. Injuries in this sport can be sneaky, sometimes looking like nothing on paper but lingering under the surface until they resurface weeks later when the schedule ramps back up. So there is real hope that whatever happened at the National Bank Open was simply an off day, some fatigue, maybe frustration boiling over in the moment, rather than anything that could put a serious US Open run at risk. That tournament means too much to have it derailed by something mishandled in the weeks leading up to it. What makes this whole stretch so compelling is the contrast sitting right in the middle of it. On one side, pure excitement, a player stepping into brand new tournaments for the very first time, building anticipation toward a return to one of the sport's biggest stages, and layering in mixed doubles plus a tune-up match to make sure everything is dialed in before the lights come on in New York. On the other side, a story about resilience, about a setback nobody saw coming, and about the decision to respond with patience instead of panic. Choosing doubles over a rushed singles return reflects the kind of long-term thinking that separates players who burn out from players who sustain a career at the very top for years. So, as Cincinnati approaches, keep an eye on both of these threads, because they are going to intersect in fascinating ways. Watch how the pressure of unfamiliar courts and unfamiliar crowds gets handled for the very first time, and watch closely how the return from Toronto plays out through doubles, because that first match back is going to say a lot about where the fitness and the mindset really stand heading into the final push toward New York. If everything lines up the way it should, this could end up being one of the more memorable build-ups to a US Open in recent memory, fresh energy running on one side and a genuine comeback story unfolding on the other. Think about the logistics alone for a second. Traveling from one new city to another, adjusting to different court speeds, different balls, different time zones, all while trying to stay sharp enough to beat players who have been grinding on tour just as long, if not longer. That is the unglamorous side of this sport that rarely makes the highlight reels, yet it shapes results just as much as forehands and serves do. Debuting at 2 tournaments in the same stretch is not a small ask on the body or the mind, and it takes real comfort with uncertainty to walk into venues never played before and still expect to compete at the highest level. That is exactly why the New York storyline feels so layered this year. It is not just about defending points or chasing another title. It is about arriving with momentum built through unfamiliar territory, folding in the extra responsibility of a mixed doubles run, and topping it off with a tune-up match designed purely to sharpen instincts before the real pressure begins. Meanwhile, the comeback story out of Cincinnati deserves just as much attention, because recovery narratives so often get buried under flashier headlines. Coming back through doubles after a rough loss is not the flashy choice, but it is the smart one, and smart choices tend to hold up best once the stakes get higher later on. If the body responds well and the rhythm returns, do not be shocked if that momentum carries straight into the singles draw with something to prove. The countdown to New York has officially begun, and there is a lot worth paying attention to between now and then, because sport has a funny way of rewarding patience over panic, and this next stretch could end up being a perfect example of exactly that.